Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I logged off 3 or 4 times and logged in again just to see because I see there's no one in the class. So I thought maybe I joined um, the wrong lesson, but I think it is the right lesson. So inshallah you can listen to the recordings. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So we were discussing additional words which reliable narrators add when hearing from the same teacher, and focusing on the claim of Khatib al-Baghdadi, Ibn Hajar raḥimahullāh tried to prove that the majority of scholars would accept additional words only if they did not contradict the narrations of his colleagues. So that means if a person is not contradicting what the other students in his class are narrating from his same teacher, then it would be accepted. And the basis of this is that in the very definition of Sahih, we done that a narration should not be shadh. So meaning it cannot contradict other narrations. So Ibn Hajar rahimahullah first expressed his astonishment on those who did not take into consideration this point here. He said, well, ajabu mimman aghfala dhalika, in spite of acknowledging that a narration should not be shadh, yet they are accepting ziyadatu thiqa in all circumstances. Now he expresses even more astonishment, and he says that he is surprised that there are many Shāf'ī scholars. Look at the word here, kathir. We're going to go through the ibadah now. And he's saying there are many Shāfi'i scholars who actually then even attribute this view to Imam Shāfi'i rahimahullah, that he will accept narrations with additional wordings in all circumstances. But Ibn Hajar rahimahullah said that there is clear text from Imam Shāfi'i rahimahullah to the contrary. And this is what he's going to be discussing now. So he says, وَأَعْجَبُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ إِطْلَاقُ كَثِيرٍ مِنَ الشَّافِعِيَّةِ الْقَوْلَ بِقَبُولِ زِيَادَةِ الثِّقَةِ. That more astonishing is where we have many Shāfi'i scholars who attribute to Imam Shāfi'i rahimahullah that unconditionally in all circumstances he would accept the additional words of reliable narrators. He's saying, but then there is a text of Imam Shafi'i to the contrary. مع أن الشافعية مع أن النص الشافعي يدل على غير ذلك. He said we have clear words. Now here also when he uses the word أعجب, so I'm just it comes in my mind to say it, that Alama Laqani rahmallah, he mentions here nicely. He says, وإنما كان هذا أعجب منه لأن من تقيد بتبعية إمامه يجب ألا يخرج عن نصه ولا يحمل النظر في قواعده. That the reason why this here is more astonishing than the previous, because if you are saying that you are following the Shafi'i madhab, then it is essential that you confine yourself within the Shafi'i madhab. You hold rigidly on the views of your Imam. And like I say, all this is coming to my mind now. So like our same Ustad of Nuzha an-Naḍar, Mufti Muhammad Patel rahimahullah, when we used to do Sharh Ma'ani al-Athar with him, then you know some places Imam Tahawi rahimahullah chooses the view of Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad rahimahullah, and he leaves the view of Imam Abu Hanifa. And our Ustad really could not tolerate it, that if you have clear nusus from the Imam of your madhab, then how can you leave the view of the Imam of your madhab and then go to the view of others that you hold strongly? Generally, when you travel, you go to Pakistan, the western portion, into Afghanistan, that area, you'll see how rigidly they stick to the views of Imam Abu Hanifa. So Ibn Hajar is saying, "Ma nassuhu," that this here is like he's going to go quote verbatim, like precisely what Imam Shafi'i rahmallah said. So this is now the statement of Imam Shafi'i rahmallah, that وَيَكُونُ إِذَا شَرِكَ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْحُفَّاظِ لَمْ يُخَالِفْهُ. Now here it's important to take note that who exactly Imam Shafi'i rahmallah is speaking about. So Imam Shafi'i rahmallah is speaking about a person and what he's speaking about. He's now speaking, the whole context is important. He's speaking at how would you know that a person has a good memory. Obviously, adala, you can see that a person is reliable, you can test him if a person is trustworthy. But now, how can you see the memory of a person? So he's explaining to you how to determine the memory of a person. This is what the context, and that is why it's actually going to be a must quote as well, or not a must quote, rather it's going to be quoted out of place as we are going to explain shortly. So he's saying that وَيَكُونُ إِذَا شَرِكَ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْحُفَاظِ لَمْ يُخَالِفُهُ. That to determine the memory of a person, we take his narration and we compare it with others who are well known to have good memories. So when we compare it, we find that this person is narrating exactly the same thing as what those narrators have narrated, that they have good memories and they manage to remember this when sitting in their dars. And this person also managed to remember the same thing. It shows that his memory is also good. Yeah, when he just says it like this, yeah, that lam yukhalifhu, it means that it could mean that it should be like 100% precise, but now you will understand from the next statement that if he mentions few things which are less, then that is tolerable, it is acceptable. Why? Because at least you know that he has managed to capture a good portion of the narration. So he says, فَإِنْ خَالَفَهُ فَوُجِدَ حَدِيثُهُ أَنْقَصَ كَانَ ذَلِكَ دَلِيلٌ عَلَى صِحَّةِ مَخْرَجِ حَدِيثِهِ. That if he has to contradict others who have better memories, then that would denote upon at least it shows that doesn't hadith itself have some basis. Now here you can see that they put the i'rab in probably whichever nuskha you're using is makharaj, and this is how it would be in a correct way. You won't read it as mukharraj, because when reading al-risala, then some have felt that it's mukharraj hadithihi, but the rawi is reliable. But then had Imam Shāf'ī intended to say that the rawi is reliable, he wouldn't have used the word sihhati. He would have rather used the word that thiqati mukharrajihi or wusuqi mukharrajihi. So he says, وَمَتَى خَالَفَ مَا وَصَفْتُ أَذَرَّ ذَلِكَ بِحَدِيثِهِ. If he has to contradict and add wording, then he's saying that أَذَرَّ ذَلِكَ بِحَدِيثِهِ. So this here is what Imam Shāfi'ī raḥimahullāh mentioned. Now to explain this here, Ibn Hajar rahimahullah is going to explain what he understands from this text of Imam Shāfi'ī rahimahullah. So like we said here, that when Ibn Hajar rahimahullah mentions ma nasud and is quoting precisely, so if you have to look in Ar-Risala, you will find that yes, maybe just 1-2 different words. For example, in Ar-Risala it comes with the word fi hadithi, and obviously I don't have time to check through the manuscripts, but from the print, so maybe our print is wrong, and maybe Ibn Hajar is quoting correctly. In the print of Ar-Risala on page 438, it comes وَيَكُونُ إِذَا شَرِكَ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْحُفَّاظِ فِي حَدِيث. You see that additional word. And likewise, the word dalil, Ibn Hajar used it, comes with the word dalail, but nevertheless, it's exactly the same thing. So Ibn Hajar now is explaining what he understands from this text here. He says that وَمُقْتَضَاهُ أنه إذا خالف فوجد حديثه أزيد أضر ذلك بحديثه. That yeah, you see ومتى خالف ما وصفت أضر ذلك بحديثه. He's saying, so what we understand from this here is that when he contradicts and we find that he has used additional words, then this here actually أضر ذلك بحديثه, it will taint all his other narrations. And that will show us that he actually has a weak memory. He's not remembering and he's adding his own stuff here inside. So therefore, it will taint all his narrations. فدل على أن زيادة العدل عنده لا يلزم قبولها مطلقا. He's saying, but from this we understand that additional words which a reliable narrator includes, it does not necessitate that we will accept it in all circumstances unconditionally. وَإِنَّمَا تُقْبَلُ مِنَ الْحُفَّاظِ. He's saying, but it will only be understood from huffaz. Now this statement here of Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, he didn't realize, but وَإِنَّمَا تُقْبَلُ مِنَ الْحُفَّاظِ, this here, this few words, وَإِنَّمَا تُقْبَلُ مِنَ الْحُفَّاظ, contradicts his whole explanation which he mentioned earlier. That by saying وَإِنَّمَا تُقْبَلُ مِنَ الْحُفَّاظ, he is actually admitting that if a hafiz has to come with additional words, then mutlaqan it will be accepted. So this here contradicts what he mentioned earlier when he's trying to say that you have to look whether there's mukhalafa or whether there's no mukhalafa, etc. So if you just look at this one statement, therefore Allama Baqari raḥimahullah, his own student said, "Sallamna dhalika, we accept this here. فَإِنْ أَرَدْتَ بِالْحَافِظ مُطْلَقَ الثِّقَةِ," that when you are saying hafiz, because here obviously when Imam Shāfi'i, remember that he's referring to the text of Imam Shāfi'i. So Imam Shāfi'i raḥimahullah is saying, إِذَا شَرِكَ أَحَدًا مِنَ الْحُفَّاظِ. He's not taking the meaning here of huffaz, those the technical meaning of those who really memorize the hundreds of thousands of narrations. Here when he is taking the meaning of huffaz, he's saying that you just look at how his narrations compares to those who have good memories. So that's obviously mutlaq al-thiqa. So this is what Allama Baqai is saying, that here when you are saying that فَإِنْ أَرَدْتَ بِالْحَافِظ مُطْلَقَ الثِّقَةِ فَهُوَ عَيْنُ مَا قُلْنَا. This is exactly the same thing what we just said, that زِيَادَةُ الثِّقَةِ مَقْبُولَةٌ, because you're saying that وَإِنَّمَا تُقْبَلُ مِنَ الْحُفَّاظِ, and we're saying here that huffaz is the lateral meaning from those who have good memory. So to explain this here, وَإِنَّمَا تُقْبَلُ مِنَ الثِّقَاتِ. So this here contradicts all the way you divided it, and it's the exact same thing which we are saying. And this is what Allama Baqai rahimahullah has said. And then on the other hand, you can get others who would take the technical meaning of huffaz here, and then they would assume that no, only the ziyadat of huffaz are accepted. That means a person has to have an exceptionally good meaning. He has to a memory. He has to know hundreds of thousands of Ḥadīth. Now, if that kind of a person comes, and if he has to tell you something, then it will be, if he has to mention some additional words, then it will be accepted. So like Imam Munawi rahmallah says, فَدَلَّ عَلَىٰ أَنَّ زِيَادَةَ الْعَدْلِ عِنْدَهُ لَا يَلْزَمُ قُبُولَهَا مُطْلَقًا وَإِنَّمَا تُقْبَلُ مِنَ الْحَافِظِ. That here, this is how others would understand it. Like Allama Iraqi rahmallah attributes this here to Allama Sayrafi and Khatib al-Baghdadi. But we have quoted from Khatib al-Baghdadi rahimahullah that he mentioned it in an exceptional and in an absolute general way. Likewise, Allama Sayrafi will come back to his view. So, and even if you really want to restrict it to a hafiz, then that too is fine. As Mullah al-Qari rahmallah said that وأما من عرف بالحفظ وهو المراد بكونه ثقة عدلا ضابطا فلا خلاف عندهم في قبول زيادته مع احتمال الإطلاق والتقييد بكونه لا يخالف من هو أوثق منه. So this here is, and after he says وهذا ما صنح ببالي والله أعلم بحالي ومالي. Thereafter, Ibn Hajar rahmallah says, فَإِنَّهُ اعْتَبَرَ أَن يَكُونَ حَدِيثُ هَذَا الْمُخَالِفِ أَنْقَصَ مِنْ حَدِيثِ مَنْ خَالَفَهُ مِنَ الْحُفَّاظِ. That Imam Shāfi'i rahmallah is taking into consideration that this person who is contradicting, if his narrations are less, it's mentioned in a more abridged way, in a more concise way, then it is fine. وَجَعَلَ نُقْصَانَ هَذَا الرَّاوِي مِنَ الْحَدِيثِ دَلِيلًا عَلَى صِحَّتِهِ. We will even accept that narration as being correct. Why? لأنه يدل على تحريه. He's saying that because now this here shows you that he took so much more caution to narrate, that and therefore he's narrating even less. So this is the explanation which Ibn Hajar is giving from that statement of Imam Shāfi'i rahimahullah, that we will take into consideration whether he's narrating more or less. If he's narrating less, then we will accept it because we're saying that he made extra tahari, he took extra caution. So Allama Qasim bin Qutb Ghadan said, وَلِمَ لَا يَجُوزُ يَكُونُ نُقْصَانُ عَنِ الْحَافِظِ دَلِيلًا عَلَى نُقْصَانِ حِفْظِهِ. That we have said isn't that a hafiz can also make a mistake, and in fact it's proven that even a hafiz makes mistake. No one is such that they made no mistake. So why here can't we say that the hafiz is not the one making the mistake, and this person here? So Mullah al-Qari is saying that you're losing focus, that here we are talking about who? We are talking of how to establish whether a person has a good memory. وَالْجَوَابُ أَنَّ هَذَا فِي مَنْ لَمْ يُعْرَفْ بِالْحِفْظِ وَإِنَّهُ لَمَّا نَقَصَ مِنَ الْحَدِيثِ عَلِمَ أَنَّهُ تَحَرَّى وَاجْتَهَدَ فَيَكُونُ نُقْصَانُهُ بِالْاجْتِهَادِ فَيُقْبَلْ. So he's saying that here, because we are looking at that person who, and we are trying to determine whether he has a good memory, therefore we are not saying that the Hafiz made a mistake. Because this person, he could be a weak person, he could be a kadha, or maybe he could be a person with an absolute weak memory. So obviously in that case, so on that mere assumption, we cannot say that the Hafiz is the one making a mistake, because this person could be wrong. So therefore, we are saying that, look, he is narrating it. It's less in a more concise way, in a more abridged way, and therefore, we can get this kind of confidence that this person is actually taking extra caution in narrating. وجعل ما عدا ذلك مضرا بحديثه فدخلت فيه الزيادة. This is the explanation of Ibn Hajar, and we have also explained it according to Ibn Hajar. We're going to now explain, inshallah, how others understood it. فلو كانت عنده مقبولة مطلقا لم تكن مضرة بصاحبها. He's saying that had it not had زيادات الثقة, the additional words been accepted in all circumstances, it would not cause any harm to the one who is who comes up with this. So then Imam Shāf'ī rahimahullah would have not say وَمَتَى خَالَفَ مَا وَصَفْتُ أَزَرَّ ذَلِكَ بِحَدِيثِ, because it would not have caused any harm to his narrations. So this is the one statement which Imam Ibn Hajar rahimahullah has presented from his own Imam, and is trying to show that the view of Imam Shāf'ī rahimahullah is not so simple, that additional words are accepted in all circumstances. So, but there is a few problems here, that the way Ibn Hajar rahimahullah has explained it, few issues will come about. Mullah al-Qari rahimahullah explains one issue, that فيه أنه يوهم أن الزيادة على الحافظ مطلقا غير مقبولة. That the way Ibn Hajar rahimahullah is explaining and taking the view of Imam Shāf'ī rahimahullah, it would make one thing that in all circumstances, the minute a person narrates something which is additional, you don't accept it. So here's now, that's the other extreme. The one extreme is where you're saying that ziyadat al-thiqa maqbula in all circumstances. The additional words are accepted in all circumstances. Now, in trying to explain that, no, you will have to look at the context, and you will have to look at the, that specific narration, how it is. Here, Ibn Hajar is giving such an explanation, which is now going to the other extreme of saying that, no, in no circumstance, we'll never ever accept the ziyadat of a thiqa. So that's the first issue which comes about. Likewise, Al-Maqasim in Kutlubugha, he also objected here, and he said that إذا حمل كلام الإمام على ما نحن فيه فظاهر منع قبول الزيادة مطلقا لا على التفصيل المذكور، ويتبادر من سوق الكلام من قوله زيادة راويهما إلى هنا أن المخالفة من حيث الزيادة أن يزيد الثقة مخالفا لمن هو أوثق منه، أو يزيد الضعيف مخالفا للثقة، والواقع أن المراد مجرد المخالفة. So this here is the issue which comes about. Then the point which I told you to remember in the beginning of the paragraph, you can see that Imam Ibn Hajar rahimahullah mentioned itlaqu kathirin min ash-Shafi'iyya. So this is not the view of just one or two random Shafi'is. He's saying that there are many Shafi'is. And when he's saying that there are many Shafi'is, he's not talking here about laymen from the Shafi'i madhab, because obviously their view holds like you have a shopkeeper from the Shafi'i madhab, or a carpenter from the Shafi'i madhab. He's talking here of Shafi'i scholars. There are many. So on the one hand, there are many, and on the other hand, it's scholars who are saying it. So you have many scholars who are attributing to the Imam. So if there are scholars, and obviously taking to their very own Imam, if they don't know what to attribute, it becomes another issue. So here we find that which kind of Shafi'i scholars also. He's talking here about stalwart. For example, he's referring to Imam al-Haramain, al-Juwayni rahimahullah, who's regarded as a great usuli within the Shafi'i madhab. So one cannot say that al-Juwayni wouldn't know what his own Imam have said. Rather, and we find that al-Juwayni is actually attributing it to Imam Shāfi'ī. In Al-Burhan, in volume 1 on page 255, he said, إِذَا رَوَى طَائِفَةٌ مِّنَ الْأَثْبَاتِ قِصَّةً وَانْفَرَدَ وَاحِدٌ مِّنْهُمْ بِنَقْلِ زِيَادَةٍ فِيهَا فالزيادة من الراوي الموثوق به مقبولة عند الشافعي وكافة المحققين. You can see what he's saying, that if you have a group of reliable scholars narrating something, and only one of them you have, he comes and he put in some additional words. So he's saying that the additional words of this extra person, of this person here, would be accepted according to Imam Shāfi'ī, And he doesn't stop there. He says وَكَافَةِ الْمُحَقِّقِينَ, and all the muhaqqiqun within the madhab. So obviously he will mention, he won't just shoot in the dark, so to say. He won't khoy, in South Africa say khoy. He will rather, he'll only mention this here if he has proof on it. So he knows what he's talking about. He's saying that this is the view of Imam Shāfi'ī, and leave alone only Imam Shāfi'ī, the view of many muhaqqiqun within the madhab. Likewise, just now we spoke about Allama Sayrafi. So Allama Zarkashi quotes Allama Sayrafi rahmallah, also attributing it to Imam Shāfi'ī rahmallah. So when talking about additional words and saying that he will accept it, Allama Sayrafi then said, هذا قول الشافعي وبه أقول. Allama Zarkashi rahmallah, he quotes this here in Al-Bahr al-Muhit fi Usul al-Fiqh, in volume 3 on page 395. Yeah, I think it's 395. So you can see that there were stalwarts within the Shafi'i madhab, and like Ibn Hajar is saying that there are many. So obviously these Shafi'i scholars, they won't just falsely attribute something to Imam Shafi'i, number one. And number two is that they definitely, if this here is in one of the most famous kitabs of Imam Shafi'i, and if they are usuliyun, then they would master the book of usul in the Shafi'i madhab, that is Ar-Risala. So they definitely knew about this text, and in all probability they even knew it off by heart, leave alone just knew about it. They would know the exact wording here. So then on what basis would these Shafi'i scholars then claim that Imam Shafi'i are so lenient to just accept additional wording in all circumstances? Because like we said, Allama Juwayni rahmallah, being such a learned person and a master of the madhab, in the usul of the madhab, he obviously wouldn't just dismiss something or falsely attribute to his Imam something. So the answer is that they had contrary proofs. For example, Allama Imam al-Haramain, he presents another proof from Imam Shāfi'ī raḥimahullāh. If you look in Al-Burhan fi Usul al-Fiqh on page 426, he says that he quotes Imam Shāfi'ī raḥimahullah. قال الشافعي من متناقض القول الجمع بين قبول رواية القراءة الشاذة في القرآن وبين رد الزيادة. He's saying, so basically he's attributing to Imam Shāfi'ī rahmallah that if you have a reliable person coming and telling you that there are these words in the qira'ah of the Quran, like when looking at the different qira'at of the Quran, then Imam Shāfi'ī is saying that the person is reliable, you should accept it. Using that day, he's saying مع العلم بأن سبيل إثبات القرآن أن ينقل استفاضة وتواترا, that the Quran needs to be transmitted through tawatur, isn't? So he's saying that if you can accept additional words in something which has to be transmitted through tawatur, then فما كان أصله كذلك إذا قبلت الزيادة فيه شاذة نادرة فلا أن تقبل فيما سبيل نقل الأحاد كان أولى. He's saying that if for something which needs to be transmitted through tawatur, you are accepting ziyadat, additional words of a narrator, then in things which are like these, which are khabrul wahid, all the more reason you should accept the additional words of the you should accept additional words here. And thereafter he says وهذه المسألة عندي بينة إذا سكت الحاضرون عن نقل ما تفرد به بعضهم. So because of understanding it like this here and looking at all of these other statements of Imam Shafi'i, there's actually many Shafi'i scholars who then held this view, because if they felt that the Imam is saying this here, then obviously then they would follow this rule, and then that would have an impact on their masail. Like Allama Zarkashi rahmallah said, and now you see what happens when you're teaching, then sometimes now you have to race through it, and we definitely have to complete this paragraph now. To raise, so now to just quote the Arabic. Al-Mazarkashi said وخالفهم آخرون فأطلقوا القول بقبول الزيادة مطلقا وحكاه القاضي عبد الوهاب في الملخص عن مالك. So it's not only Imam Shafi'i, وأبي الفرج من أصحابه وأصحاب الشافعية وأجرى عليه الإطلاق أبو حسين ابن القطان وإمام الحرمين في البرهان والغزالي في المستصفى. And so all of them, they are saying سواء كانت الزيادة من حيث اللفظ أو المعنى. Likewise he's saying والشيخ أبو إسحاق في اللمعة وابن برهان. So many Shafi'i scholars then accept. In fact, if you look Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, he is very well known to do this here, because you know that Imam Nawawi rahimahullah is like the Mufti of the Shafi'i madhab. That many places, in fact, if you get a statement of Imam Nawawi and you find something in Kitab al you give, according to the Shafi'i madhab, you give fatwa on what Imam Nawawi rahimahullah said, because the Shafi'is will argue that Imam Nawawi knew what Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah said. So there's only because of a dalil that you would leave out what Imam Shāf'ī. He holds very great status within the Shāfi'i madhab, and that is why fatwa in the Shāfi'i madhab is so easy. You just have to know what Imam from the Mutaqaddimun, what Imam Nawawi and Imam Rafi'i said, and from the Mutaakhirun what Haythami and Allama Ramali rahmallah said, and based on that you can give fatwa. Nevertheless, so Imam Nawawi rahmallah uses this so many times. If you open his commentary of Muslim, likewise if you look in Al-Majmu', so many times he uses this principle that because it's the other thiqah, so therefore we will accept it. In fact, he also said قد تقرر وعلم أن المذهب الصحيح الذي عليه الجمهور من أصحاب الحديث والفقه والأصول قبول زيادة الثقة. So he attributes it to the vast majority, just like Khatib al-Baghdadi raḥimahullah. So I think it's actually better rather we continue from here instead of just rushing through it. Inshallah, we'll continue with all of these, and we'll try to condense it also. You know, like how he's saying that you those made anqas, so we'll also make here anqas and complete this chapter quickly on Saturday, and then continue with Shād, inshallah. So until then, jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.